What is up, Cowboys Nation? You know what time it is. It's live on Thursday, and it's kind of time to be in the cave. So before we get rolling, make sure if you guys are new to the channel, obviously we love the support, but you can support us even more by hitting that subscribe, hitting the like, share, alert, all that other stuff. I don't know if there's anything else I missed, Kelly, but we getting ready to have a good time and a good show. So how are you feeling before we get this thing rolling?
I'm feeling really good, man. I mean, it's Thursday. I'm rewarding myself today with a little bit of tequila again. I would try not to polish the bottle. I drank about half of this thing during the draft. So I'm still working on this bottle of 1800. So, I'm feeling good. I got a cold drink in my hand. We getting ready to talk some football and bring one of the heavy hitters on YouTube and X both into the cave. Because, I mean, as everybody knows, we've been advertising. We got Rome from Cowboys Fan Talk ready to come in, and we're gonna get right down and dirty with this thing.
No, we're gonna make this thing happen. We're gonna get rolling. I just want to say I had the pleasure of meeting them at the Carolina game when we whooped a little ass and just kind of bumped into him down the corridor. So it was awesome. You can't miss him. Can't miss him for sure. And then definitely got to hang out with him at AT&T, which was great. So hopefully we get to do it more. But he's one of those guys that I watched way early on before, I even kind of became noticed on Twitter from hype videos. He's been one of my favorites. He's been one of the OGs. So it's always good to have him in. And finally in the cave, it's been a little too long. What is up, my man Rome? How's it going?
How y'all doing, man? I'm feeling good. How y'all feeling tonight?
Well, I'm feeling good. I don't know if Kelly's feeling good, and I think you're okay. I think so. So we're gonna figure this out. We're gonna see how good we're feeling after the show.
Got a lot to figure out.
They're not happy, but we'll see what happens. But first of all, before we get rolling, I know everyone better know where you're at, but just real quick for those who don't, let them know where they can find you.
Okay, Cowboys Fan Talk on YouTube, Cowboys_Fan Talk on Twitter or X, better known as X. Didn't get the regular Cowboys Fan Talk. Somebody else beat me to it. So it's Cowboys_Fan Talk on Twitter and just Cowboys Fan Talk on YouTube. And yeah, man, I mean, you know me, I talk Cowboys pretty much 24/7, 365, even on holidays. And, I'm one of those fans that I just can't get enough. Even though they frustrate me, I'm always back, ready to talk about it again. So, you know what I'm saying?
Well, let's I want to get your opinion, right? So, you know me, man. I'm a positive Cowboys fan. I'm going to bring the hype. Some say it might be a little difficult, but they did the draft. I always tell people, relax a little bit, like kind of let the dust settle. It's not totally settled, but we did the draft. You got, Zeke back, which, definitely want your opinion on that. But where are you at today with the Cowboys? Where do you see them? How you feeling? You optimistic, pessimistic? Still wait and see. What's your thoughts?
I am optimistic. I'm glass half full Cowboys fan. Although I get frustrated with some of the moves of the front office because you always don't know the direction they're heading. The one thing I enjoyed about this draft is I like when our team has a point of view or an identity, or at least attempting to strive for an identity, even if you got to shift gears and go toward another direction. Like we had one defensive identity under Dan Quinn, and now we're shifting to it seems to be a more physical, heavy set type of a defense. We seem to be shifting to a physical, heavy set type of a running game. So I like point of view. I like, because it seemed like over the last couple years, we try to do everything. We're a little bit too mixed bag, and under the Kellen Moore regime, we might do some things that really work well, and then we'll never come back to it type of situation. It just be confusing. Like, did I see us use 3 tight ends at once? And you just never see it again. So stuff like that, I want us to, it seems like we're going to be more concise this year. I know it's not as flashy of a year, and we can all complain about that because it's just like, what are you guys doing? We're not adding. We're just kind of harnessing what we already got. So I can see why that could be frustrating because trust me, you can see me complain every day of the week just because I want the best for the team and the fan base. I'm not a right or wrong guy. If anybody that watches me, I need to, like a self-fulfilling prophecy type of guy. Everything I say has to go. I just want prosperity, whatever that looks like. for the Cowboys. So, the draft made me happy because I was like, first I was like, what are they doing when they took Guyton? Because I wasn't too excited about them. But then when you start to see them go Nealon, and then you see them go BB, and then you see them pick up the linebacker, and you're like, okay. Then they pick up a physical corner, and et cetera, et cetera. Even though the bigger body receiver that could probably block a little bit better than some of our smaller receivers, and you start to realize, oh, I think I might see a more physical team, especially situationally. Last year it seemed like we couldn't run the ball when we needed to. Like in the Detroit game, we wouldn't have had no controversy if we could have just salted that game away, or maybe the Miami game. It's just that we couldn't match physicality in Buffalo. So I think the one thing that Jones family and the brass of our team really just set to the side and said, you know what? I think we need to be more physical. But they didn't give us a good plan. All they said was all in, which kind of sent the whole fan base spiraling. They kept that to themselves. I promise we wouldn't have been angry. We'd have just like, oh, it's kind of like normal, But after seeing the draft, I'm like, okay, I think I know where y'all going with it. So I'm interested to see how the next month or two plays out. For what I understand, we covet those compensatory picks that we get for losing players, and for some odd reason, I've heard through the grapevine that we didn't want to sign anyone because it would mess up the formula. But there's a date to where that can't be changed, and that's already passed. So I'm hoping that they'll consider adding some cheaper veterans because Stephen Jones loves to add quality
value pickups,
yeah, for lack of a better word. So we're gonna see what's going on with that, and then we're gonna see how we can put the rest of this thing together throughout the summer. But I'm not gonna be negative about, like, I'm one of those people where when we were heading into free agency, I had high expectations, and then you got let down. And I was like, all right, well, let's just see what the draft's going to be. But after the draft, you pretty much know what your soldiers are, so it's okay. Let's lock and load and just start focusing on what we can do to win. Complaining time is over. Any additions will probably be minimal. So at this point, you need to just focus on what you got and get ready to move forward. I'm not going to complain throughout the year every game because I didn't get what I wanted in free agency. It is what it is at this point. Let's just move forward.
We got to roll what we got. So Kelly, I know you talked about it, and I'll add this point. I want to get Kelly to jump in on some of what he thought about, maybe some concerns. The one thing I saw with this draft, and I'll be honest, man, I'm not Jay Tuck, man. I don't go in the film room and study.
Me neither.
So I'm speaking from the heart, and I'm speaking from what I just see and feel. These guys seem like they got some nastiness to them. So, you heard Guyton talk about violent tendencies when he's in the field. And you saw BB against Texas, and you saw the line. I like how we all say the linebacker. All of us don't know how to say his last name, so we just say.
I think it's Maurice Luafau, but I don't know if that's right. I've just heard people pronounce it like that. Yeah. I haven't heard him. I need him to say his name. So I'm not
going to say it yet. I'm not going to butcher it. He just looks like a physical, hit hard, like kind of just. He reminds me of Palomalu with the hair or whatever. So
yeah, the hair gets you every time.
Yeah, so I just think I think the draft was physical, but I know Kelly had some concerns. So Kelly, on the flip side, what are some concerns you have? And I would love to get Rome. I'd love to get your take on it, and let's have a conversation. You guys in the chat also love to hear what you guys think about it.
Yeah, so the way that I look at it is the Cowboys. I don't think that when they lost what they lost, that they lost anybody that was like, man, this guy's irreplaceable. But I do think that they lost that what they had walking out the door, that I figured they were going to use free agency to kind of fill some of that, and they really didn't. I mean, they went out and got Kendricks, but they are really putting a lot of stock in this rookie draft class, right? And I know we all feel pretty good about it right now. There's not really any one of these rookies that I'm looking at like, God, I think this guy's a horrible pick. I can't believe we grabbed this guy. But I'm looking at him like, Tyron Smith last year, me and Mike were talking about this coming in. So he played at an all-pro level. Now, is Tyler Guyton going to play there? At that level, I don't think so. I mean, I think he'll be good, but I think there's going to be a drop-off there. So, I think you're playing at a guy that's going to be a little less talented than what you had there last year. BB looks all the pieces to be a guy that's going to be a big, nasty, lineman, but he's also a rookie that's unproven. So could he struggle his first year? Yeah, I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility. He's a guy that was picked in the 3rd round. So I look at this team, though, and kind of like what you talked about, Rome, it looks like they're kind of want to rebuild that offensive line, which I'm all for that because I think you win in the trenches, and I think it's shown amongst the more successful teams that have been in the playoffs and gone further and made it to the Super Bowl. The one thing they have in common is a great offensive line, great defensive line. So I'm all for that. But you know what got me scratching my head is you're rebuilding that offensive line, but now you're going to go running back by committee. And, it's just one of those things where it's like you look at the running backs that were out there in free agency. There wasn't any of these guys that were out there that got snagged where you thought, damn, that they overpaid for that guy. We couldn't have got him. There was a lot of guys out there that were affordable that I thought if they would have got one of those guys, I thought would have been an instant upgrade at the running back position. And then all of everything that they're doing in the draft would have kind of been like, okay, well, this all makes sense. Because right now, that running back room is a little underwhelming. And I like Zeke coming back. I'm not against that. Veteran presence. The fact that you are going to have a rookie left tackle out there. Zeke's pass blocking is probably going to be utilized a lot. So I'm all for that. I just, the fact that they didn't address the running back position in the draft also had me a little puzzled. I'm like, okay, they didn't get one in free agency. That means we're going to get one in the draft. And then we followed it up and we didn't. And I thought there was some guys that were that were there that, obviously the Cowboys didn't have them at the spots where, they said they drafted to their board. So here we are, we got a running back room with, Royce Freeman and you got Ezekiel Elliott and you got Deuce Vaughn, who, I haven't given up on Deuce Vaughn, but let's face it, he looked a little underwhelming when he was on the field last year. So it really worries me because of the fact that I think that Dak Prescott would definitely benefit with a sound running game. And I don't know that when it comes down to it, if you're a defensive coordinator, your game plan right now is let's make them prove that they can run the ball. We know Dak's going to throw the ball. So let's just drop back and we're not worried about the run game. Let's just drop back and protect and defend the pass. And so I just wonder how that's going to go this year. Obviously, a lot of things still to play out, but the running back position and lack of really a solidified back right there just kind of worries me, man. And I did have somebody mention that, if you got a great offensive line, they pointed out, and I looked it up just so I could bring it up and get the exact numbers. They talked about, Darren McFadden running behind a great offensive line with the Cowboys got 1,000 yards back in 2000.
I remember that. Yeah.
Now, and I did go back and look at that, but I will say about that 2015 line, we had Tyron Smith, Travis Frederick, and Zach Martin. So that was a stellar offensive line right there. Do I think we have that kind of talent right now? That remains to be seen, but I don't think it'll be that great this year. I don't think it'll be 2015 level. So that's kind of where my concerns lie, is just in that run game and kind of how we're going to be. The defense, I think, is shaping up. I like what they've done at linebacker. It seems like they've really got some depth there now. So a position of weakness turns into a position, I think, of strength and depth. And then the defense, interior defensive line still worries me a bit too. So that's kind of where my worries are and where my opinion lies on this team right now.
Yeah. And then real quick, EJ brought this up and I was going to ask too, might as well. You got a lot of teams that are heavy running back that they got through the draft and on their team. Do you see a possibility the Cowboys, the running back room isn't done yet?
No question. I think they're showing their hands as far as you don't have that number of running backs if you have an idea of what you really want. I think we have Zeke and a whole bunch of possibles. Yeah. I don't think anyone behind Zeke can literally hang their hat and say, I'm definitely going to be on this team. They should all, and that includes Deuce. I know he's a great story. But I think that what the Cowboys are going to do is they're going to, that's why I said the next couple of months are important, because they're going to continue to churn the roster. I don't think they're going to bring in anyone that you're going to be able to say is a starter over Zeke. I think this is the Cowboy thinking of me, just for marketing purposes, whoever they bring in is going to be 1A, 1B at best. from where I heard them knocking around the idea of bringing in Dalvin Cook or Kareem Hunt, not specifically someone of that vein where, you know, they won't be considered the starter, but they'll be another on caliber back to where if you hand them the ball, you think they can get a couple yards. And the Jets and the Dolphins, as he was saying, they do have a surplus of younger backs that don't have the necessarily the cachet to where if we brought them into the team, someone will say, well, they're starting over Zeke, even if they got better talent. So it'll be one of those things kind of like where Zeke's last year, where Zeke will get the first couple carries and then the other gentleman will get to come in. But when you look at our running back room now, it's like 7 backs. Yeah. It's Brees, it's Snoop Connor, it's Deuce, it's Hunter Lipke, even though he's technically a fullback. It's a lot of bodies, and it just lets me know y'all want to kind of see who got the best juice. So it's going to be a fun camp to whittle that. I think Malik Davis is floating in there still. So it's a lot of backs, and that lets me know y'all don't know, because it would be around 3 if y'all did know. So I think the opportunity may present itself. Like Miles Sanders might get cut from the Panthers because they just drafted Jonathan Brooks. And there's a lot of opportunity out there where you might say you can bring him in to go with Zeke,
like a lightning, like almost like that Pollard role where they need that fast.
This is the irony. I don't know I think they're trading philosophies. I think that they might bring somebody in a little bit faster, but I don't know if they're looking for a complete just Pollard. I really think that I was watching Skywalker Still's show. Shout out to my boy Sky, and he was talking about Mike Solari's favorite type of run scheme, and this is where sometimes I wish I was better at studying this film. But they say Mike Solari really loves to run a dual blocking double run scheme where you get a lot of combo blocks from like Still and Zach. Mm-hmm. And that was some of Still's best games the year before last when he got to do the combo blocking. And they were saying that that's what's going to help Guyton, being able to combo block with Tyler Smith next to him, because of the physicality that he brings. And they said that the best thing is that BB, from his college tape, especially in that Texas game, he showed that he can actually hold his own. So what we did was trade the strength at left tackle for the strength at center. So when you start getting combo blocks, like say for instance, you get a combo block with like BB and Zach Martin, or vice versa, ZB and Tyler Smith or BB. I just think that when you got that plus the physicality of Ezekiel Elliott, Royce Freeman's like Zeke light, but it's a lot more backs running behind their pads instead of trying to get to the edge. And I think last year there was so many times where, because Dak's going to go out there and he's going to light it up. He's going to throw, but there's moments in the game situationally where you're like, all right, we need to run here, no question. And I think last year they just said we can't. We got to throw it. That ending sequence in Detroit before we gave them the ball back and we got to that last situation, literally, we just threw the ball 3 times in a row. And I'm like, what? It's a couple yards. And I just don't think they had the faith in the line or the running backs. And when you got Zeke, Philly got the tush push. We got, I was going to say 2-1. We got 1-5 now.
Yeah. 1-5. That's a San Francisco area code. I saw someone tweet out. So.
Yeah, that's not going to work. You got to just say, you got to just say 15 now. But I think that we will be way more situationally like short yardage stuff. We left some meat on the bone last year, short yardage.
Oh yeah.
And now what you guys are saying is, well, where's going to be our splash runs?
Yeah.
And I think that's what they're searching for. I even hear that they're still in the market trying to talk, because the undrafted free agent market is a lot different than regular free agency. They're literally trying to swindle some backs or a back or two, because they said they're still trying to get some players. They haven't solidified their undrafted team yet, because I think that they wanted, like, Stephen Jones doesn't mind spending in this realm because it's not millions, it's just hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
So he's trying to get like a gentleman like Blake Watson, which he came from the same university of Memphis as Tony Pollard, and he could provide that little bit of a lightning. And I think that's what they were waiting on in the draft. They just kind of overplayed their hand not having that 4th round pick.
Yeah,
because they waited and said we could probably get one in the 5th, and it was just bad luck. They all went, and they were like, all right, well, let's just scratch it completely. And I think that's what happened. We got Zeke in the bag, and we'll figure it out later. I don't know if that's going to work good. I just know that that's where we are.
Well, they got Nathaniel Pete, I think, Missouri. I think he was a Missouri. I mean, undrafted, runs a 4.38, undrafted, but you don't.
But it leaves a lot to be desired, like because you're just like, put it like this. I was talking to me, Jay Tuck, and DMV. We have a group chat that we talk. We spinball ideas off each other, and we were just like, "There's so much excitement for Nathaniel Pete," and I said, "That's telling. It's not. It has really nothing to do with Nathaniel Pete. It's just we are just looking for hope.
Thirsty. We're thirsty for a running back.
For hope. It's not.
I'm a running back fan, and I mean Tony Dorsett is the reason I'm a Cowboy fan. Emmitt Smith. I argue with people all the time comparing him and Barry Sanders. I love that argument, and I love debating it, and I'll do it all day long. And Herschel Walker. I mean, all these guys. I mean, obviously Zeke and Julius Jones had his little run, and Felix Jones.
Yeah.
And Madden was there. I mean, I love running the football. And last year, I said it over and over, man. And I'm like, this lack of running is going to come back to bite us in the ass. And the thing I'll say, and I know we'll get us some Dak stuff because that's a lightning round that people love.
Of course, that's the pendulum swinger.
If you say one positive thing about Dak, you're a Dak lover and a fanboy, whatever. Even though if you say 5 negative things, if you just put one in there, it changes the whole world. But
it changes the conversation. I do battle about that regularly. You know, to the point where it's just, and it's one of those things where you sometimes wish. It's rare that I wish I was a part of other fan bases, but it's so crazy that sometimes I feel like we're spoiled and we don't understand what we have. Like as frustrating as the offseason has been for me, it's just because I'm like, I feel like we're teeter-tottering on greatness. Just add some pieces and we can be even greater. Kind of like San Francisco said, I don't care, we'll add another receiver on. Like we, they do stuff like that, and our team seems to like to do things the tough way, the hard way. Like, we gonna develop our players, we're not adding nobody.
No, it's 3 12-5 seasons. You do that, but what I was gonna say about with Dak and just the offense, not being able to run the ball, we'll get to and I'll add to the defense. It just puts so much pressure for perfection.
Too much.
You can't be. I always throw the example. Patrick Mahomes, he couldn't get his offense going, but he had the defense to bail him out and
the run game
close. In Dallas, I'll be the first to admit it. Our defense was not as good as what I thought it was going to be. If our offense wasn't rolling early, our defense got punched in the mouth and it was game over. We got blown out. And that's a lot to ask a quarterback. And I know a lot of people want to destroy, Dak, and Dak, he has his own things he's got to handle in the playoffs. There's no doubt about it. But it's not just him. There's plenty of blame for the Cowboys' lack of playoff success.
It's the contract that makes people uncomfortable with Dak.
Yeah.
And it's just more so that's the going rate. Eventually there'll be another quarterback you don't like how much he's getting paid. It's just kind of going to be part of it. Yeah. I look at it like this, to your point about being able to run the ball. You want to have a off-speed pitch. You got to have something else to throw out there, because when you play better teams, they're going to take away your best attributes. And as much as I love CeeDee Lamb, when you roll into a game, you're going to get the Bill Belichick effect. Well, we're going to double CeeDee Lamb, and we're going to put our best corner on Brandon Cooks. Now what?
Yeah.
And it's going to be like it's almost to the point where it's Jake Ferguson or bust, because we don't have a traditional – I want to say a traditional – we don't have a scare you number 2, and that's not a slight to Brandon Cooks. He's just a little bit older. We have a solid number 2, but he doesn't scare – no one game plans for Brandon Cooks anymore. And we don't have a running game. As much as I love Zeke, and I know he's going to run hard, he's going to bring a chip on his shoulder and everything, no one's going to game plan for Zeke anymore. So now it's just stop Dak and CD, and we're off to the races. So I think you can alleviate some of that with scheme, but you do need an off-speed pitch. And I think if they running back, luckily, the two positions that we need, running back and DT, because I really feel like that's the two positions. And it's more so veteran DT. It's not pass rushing DT, that's where it gets pricey. I think we got pass rushing DTs, because I think when third down comes, we usually bump D-Law in the DT and we rush Osa. So we got pass rushing DTs, but on running downs, you can go get that. You can go get a Calais Campbell or a Linval Joseph. You can get veteran DTs for a reasonable price. And you can also go get running backs for a reasonable price. Luckily, this is a position that's not crazily expensive because everybody's not crazy enough like Philly to give a running back $15 million a year.
Yeah.
They can have that game. I don't want to play necessarily that game.
No.
But
yeah, and I don't think you do. But the one thing I'm going to just say, and I love this, I don't know where it is. Dak Delusional fan said Cowboys ran the ball better than 20 teams. Stats are the most misleading thing when it comes to, your.
Can I say something to that real quick?
They couldn't run the ball.
Can I say something to that real quick? Because stats are funny. Like you said, stats are used in the conversation depending on what your narrative is.
Yeah.
So when it's a negative stat, you want to build a conversation on it. When it's a positive stat, you want to ignore it. Because they'll build up the stats. We ran the ball and they'll throw that out there. Great. That's a great stat. Whatever. But if I throw out the all pros and the led the league in touchdowns, now that's irrelevant. Yeah. So which one is it? Because if we're going to just lean on stats, then you have to acknowledge Dak Prescott because he got all of them. But then you don't want to lean on stats. You want to go to situational game stuff, which brings the conversation back to what you're saying. We can't run the ball situationally.
Yeah,
it's not just statistical. So you got to pick a side, and people don't like when you force them to pick a side. It is situational. Statistical wise, Tony Pollard might average yards per carry for career way better than Ezekiel Elliott, just because of when he was the change of pace back. A lot of his carries sprung for longer yards, but the hard work that Zeke puts in a game will really make another back look better. Zeke's going to come in this year and get us a hard-earned bare minimum 60 to 70 yards per game. Very physical runs, 5 yards here, 7 yards here, and whoever gets the pleasure to be the off-speed back is going to look way better than they ever have looked in their career. Like Royce Freeman might look like, whoa, is he a hidden gem? No, Zeke just punished the defense for 2.5 quarters, and that's his job. So that's why I'm not mad that he's back, but you would be naive not to add something to him at this stage of his career.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Look, I've been looking at the Jets running backs. That's why I was interested. That gentleman brought that up earlier. Like, you can't have 4 or 5 running backs, Jets. You got to share.
No,
well, and they just drafted, they drafted a young rookie. Braylon Allen, the guy that I was wanting. So, it's funny because, when I look at these mock drafts, and I paid attention to quite a few of them. I know Mike did some, Rome. I know you did some. I just got a question though, because I can't remember all of them. Because I know, I did probably like 25, 30 before.
I did like 4 or 5 mock drafts a night.
Right. So, if you did that many, then I want to know, did you in any of your mock drafts have one player that the Cowboys did? Because I didn't have one. I can send it to you. I retweeted it. It's on my Twitter. And I think it was early March. I drafted Luafau and BB in the same draft. Okay.
But I got him because I was trading back every time to get our 4th round pick back. So I got him backwards though. I got Luafau in the 5th round. I got BB in the 4th round. But you got to realize this is before BB's stock ticked back up, so I could get him in the 4th round. That's how you know this was a while ago when I actually did the draft, because you couldn't get him that late as the progressed towards the draft. Like the I guess the scoring adjusted to where you have to draft him earlier. Yeah, which is fine. But when I got him, I got BB like I think 4th, and I got the Lewis. But this is the irony: when I took him, I had no idea. Like, this wasn't because I like studied and knew he was a player. I just took him. Now I had heard that I had heard about BB. Yeah. But the linebacker was just happenstance, because all of my drafts started the same way: some type of receiver or running back at the top, and I was getting linemen later. So that's why I got BB later, because I always used to be like, well, y'all can get BB late. So I was taking him like 4th and 5th round. And the irony is, now that of course, we've all looked at every player like a fine-tooth comb, like, oh, we got him now. Like, I think Cooper Beebe is going to change life for Dallas, because we haven't seen anyone that can actually handle a DT by themselves since Travis. Yeah. And it's not. I'm not going to be disrespectful to Travis. Travis Frederick was special, but Cooper Beebe can handle when I saw him handle T'Vondre Sweat alone. T'Vondre Sweat is like 3 people by himself. So it's not easy to drop your anchor and stop a man that's almost 400 pounds from rushing forward. And unfortunately, I used to see Tyler Biadasz. He would lose those battles, man. Yeah. And I have full confidence that if Jordan Davis tries to run through Cooper Beebe, he's not going to be successful. He's just not. And you always, when you're building your team, I feel like you build your team, and we get joked on Philly. We always go back and forth with Philly online. That's what we do.
Yeah.
They don't realize, like, some of it is jokes, but some of it is true strategy. You have to link when everybody's zigging, you got to zag. So when you look at Philly and you look at how they're building their team, for some odd reason they decided to not put as much stock into their defensive line, where that used to be their bread and butter. They got a lot more unproven over there. They got a Josh Sweat. They got an older Brandon Graham. They got 2 young, good DTs,
Georgia kids.
But Jordan Davis has no stamina. He's like a first to second quarter D tackle. Jalen Carter's dangerous, but he's one player. And then their new rush in, Bryce Huff, is very, very unproven. So it makes me think, oh, and he's bad at the run, just like Josh Sweat. So I said, oh, that's ironic. They got bad linebackers and they're bad at the run. Is Dallas leaning into, oh, we're going to just run the ball on y'all? When you think that we're going to, because they're loading up DBs right now. They drafted 2 corners back to back. Yeah. So when your division rival thinks, oh, we're going to stop the pass, that's fine. We're going to just run over you, because we might not run over you like as far as like Christian McCaffrey that just going to break for 70, but we're going to punch you in the mouth for 70 yards and break your will. And I watched last year. I'm like, oh, that might be smart, because you got it. And defensively, I think last year you've seen a lot of teams that can run the ball really dominating the playoffs, really dominating the playoffs. And I think Mike Zimmer said, listen, you want to win in the playoffs, we cannot be that less physical. So I think what happened is Mike Zimmer really came in and said, listen, we got to get physical. Now, I don't know. I still don't know the plan on D tackle. I promise you I don't. But they got to have one.
They got to have something. They can't.
You'd hope so. You'd hope so.
Because they got the linebacker room together and the edges are together. It's just one portion that's just like, there's no way y'all are just ignoring that. And if we get that together, I think our defense will be stout, which is something I haven't said in a long time. I think we were like opportunistic, but we haven't been stout. And looking at that edge that we drafted, Marshawn Nealon, he looks like a man child. I know he wasn't the sexy pick, and I would have probably took a running back because that's me. I'm gonna take a weapon every time. But when I look at 270 at edge, when no disrespect to Micah, because he's Micah's gonna rush,
right?
But when you look at just how big and physical he is, it lets you know, because we got him, we got Golston, we got I got to see because Junior Fuhoko, he's been kind of like MIA, but I think he's just putting on weight too. I think we're really going to come out there and it's going to be like, we're going to dare you to run, and when you got Philly's line and you got the Giants trying to load up online, like I said, you got to win your division first. I just think that we are strategically countering what our division rivals are doing. And I think that it's going to pay dividends. That's just me. You know what I'm saying? So I'm excited about the point of view change, because I kind of knew what we was going to do. We was going to try to pass rush and hope that your quarterback makes a mistake.
Yes.
But then when somebody says, well, we're going to just run over you, we would probably all be pulling our hair out, because that Buffalo game broke my spirit, because we just couldn't stop them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I don't want to have to live through that again.
And that's what I say. You look at Arizona, you look at the Buffalo, you look at, Miami, it
hurts to watch people just run over us.
I mean, and then, I wasn't at the playoff game. I was I already had everything booked for the next week. So thank God. I tell people, if I was
Mike,
there, for
Mike
the game,
was the
I would
Mike was the Sam Williams interpreter of the fan base. You was already had a celebration plan this year.
I mean,
I was ready to celebrate too.
The demons were finally right, Kelly. Your demons, the demons were finally going to be past of the Aaron Rodgers and the Packers and all this thing. And if I would have been there to witness, that's why I feel so bad. Like I know Tuck in his video, the tears in his eye. I mean, I wouldn't have been able to do a video. 2, my phone would have been broken. 3, I don't know if I'd be a Cowboys fan today. That's how humiliating that loss was. And I was at home watching it, and I was just absolutely humiliated.
I think the thing that breaks my heart about that game, it wasn't that we lost. I'm a Cowboys fan. I'm used to playoff losses. It's been a while. It wasn't that we lost, it's the way we lost.
How we lost the game. Yeah.
It was just literally because like we looked at various points in the game like we were just confused.
Mm-hmm.
You can coach me up, run me out there, give my all. We lose, we just lose. But when I'm like, there's points in the game where there's receivers running, not like, oh, that was an excellent throw, fingertip catch. The defender was right there. They just better than us today. No, the receivers 35, 40 yards clear of anybody else. And like not once, but like 4 times. And it's just like, all right, at one point I started to feel like, am I being punked? Like, why does my team look so ill prepared? And then offensively, this is going to go right back to your point, Mike. Earlier in the game, you come out, Dak Prescott is clearly off. CeeDee Lamb is off. Their chemistry look like it's off. You see that the Packers went down and scored on us easily. Yeah. Your team looks uneasy. Like if you're a coach and you look through your sideline, you're supposed to keep the pulse of your team. You're like, everybody look off. What's the one thing you're gonna do as a team? All right, you know what? We're gonna settle everybody down. We about to run this rock.
Yes.
We're gonna run the rock. I don't care if we run it 8 times. Everybody settle down. We're not gonna do nothing crazy. We're not even gonna get them the chance to intercept the ball. That's what. Look, this is when like somebody like a Zeke might come in handy. We're going to run the block. We're going to run the rock. We're going to run this clock a little bit. We're going to just slow this game. Everybody calm down. All right. Next couple of passes for Dak. We're going to do some pitch and catch plays. Every coach got a pitch and catch play where you remember them Dalton Schultz plays where you're going to get them 5 yards. You might not get more than 5, but you're going to get them 5. Like, you got to have those drawn up to where the game seems like it's a little erratic, especially after that pick where Brandon Cooks kind of got mugged a little bit, and you say, oh, it's a physical game. The refs is calling it physical. I got to calm it down. But we didn't have that pitch. I don't think Mike was like, I can't run this. We can't run the ball. And I really feel like that really hurt us. Like, and that's to your point. We have to be able to Brian Schottenheimer had this quote when he first took over. He said, I want to be, and that's what he did in Seattle when he had Solari up there too. He said, I want to be able to run the ball when they know I'm going to run the ball.
Yeah.
And we haven't been able to do that yet. So, yeah, when you bring in a Cooper Beebe and you bring in a young, his attitude's in the right place as far as Guyton.
Yeah.
Because attitude's a big deal. People overlook that, but like mindset and attitude will get you a long way, especially when talent leaves.
Mm-hmm.
I think putting Tyler Guyton in the Duke Manyweather school, like we do everybody, you know what I'm saying? You get Terrence Steele that gets another year back under his belt after that injury.
Yeah.
You get Cooper Beebe, who has already, this is the thing, he's already been working with Duke for draft prep. Like he's already been working with him. And I think Duke Manyweather's the one to give the nod. Hey, yeah, he's worth the draft. So you already got people that there's what is it going to say? There's a cohesion already. You know what Tyler Smith and we got all pro guards. So you know what they're both going to bring. Yeah. And I really think that they're like, listen, at the end of the day, as much as I want to go running back early, we're about to have a line that's going to move people. We haven't had a move people line. We've had a like, what's the best way to put it? like a
finesse
gap.
line to me. I mean, that's the way. I mean, I look back at the '90s, and I love the '90s. So don't call me a boomer. Some of you haters.
Hey, I'm 41, so I'm right. That's my era. People don't believe it, but that's my era.
Those Super Bowls were great, and a lot of people. I said this before. We had Kevin Gogan on Big Nasty, and a lot of people think that this line was like all world first round draft. Gogan, 7th round. Tuinei, I believe, was undrafted. Nate Newton, I think, Tuinei might have been later. Tuinei was drafted as a defensive tackle. But they all had attitude. They were nasty, and they were coached well. And the thing I would say about you talked about it earlier is go back to Super Bowl 28. Dallas Cowboys losing to the Bills. Troy Aikman had that concussion the week before. Was not playing his best game. Go look it up, guys. Believe me, the great Troy Aikman actually did not play well in a big game early on. And what Jimmy Johnson said, and Kevin Gogan he talked about it, we're going to run the ball every play. As soon as we're going to get the ball, we're running it down and we're going to score. They ran the same running play the whole way down and scored a touchdown. And you talk about breaking their will. Buffalo was done after that. Then they fumble or interception, whatever it was. The route started to be on. But that's to your point is running a ball is so important in playoff time. In this,
it's a philosophy.
It settles it down if your quarterback is shaky or whatever happens. But it breaks a defense's will. I mean, offensive linemen love to run block because they're going forward and they're punishing guys, not going back. And it changes the attitude of the team. The other thing, I want to get Kelly and your guys' opinion on it, Coach Zimmer. We talked about it with George Teague. Zimmer, as far as I know, every day of his career coaching has been a sideline coach. Quinn was up in the box.
I love that so much too.
Right? Yeah. Be there because if that shit's happening in the playoffs, you can't coach from the phone booth or the upper deck. You need to coach in their face and and that's what Zimmer brings. So what's your guys' thoughts on Zimmer?
I'm gonna let Kelly go. What you think?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the one thing that I like is you can't really get in somebody's ass when you up top.
You can't. You know what I mean? What you gonna do? Get on the phone with them?
Right. So you gonna sit there and talk. I mean, how many times? I mean, I don't know, man. How many times as a teenager was your mom or dad getting on your ass on the phone and you just like, but you'll run out there and like, yeah, whatever. You're like doing this, but
I'm on mute, whatever, mom.
Yeah, exactly. But if your mom or your dad's in your face getting in your ass, I mean, you gotta like look them right in the eye. Yes, sir, no, man.
And Zimmer's no nonsense.
No, exactly. And you've seen videos of Zimmer doing that where he's getting in his guy's ass and he's down there and he's a guy that is not scared to let you know. And that's what Teague talked about was that Zimmer's a guy that's going to hold you accountable. He said, that we have a lot of guys out there that'll talk about what they're going to do. We've had our guys, defensive players, talk about how they're going to be the bullies and then gone out and got bullied, right? So Zimmer's not going to stand for that. If he sees you going out there and you're not in your assignment and you're not playing your assignment, he's going to let you know, and he's going to let you know probably in a pretty brash way, but his players respond to it and his defenses respond to it.
I think we need that though. You just
do.
Dan Quinn wanted to be your friend. Dan Quinn wanted to be like, hey man, I got them Jordans too.
Yeah. Right.
Zimmer don't care about that.
No, I mean, he's high-fiving guys, and he's doing the cool thing, trying to fit in. He's kind of like the cool dad that's trying to use the slang with all these guys. Zimmer ain't gonna be that. Zimmer's an old school guy. He's gonna have that old school attitude. He's gonna have that, that hard, tough, physical mentality, and I think this defense needs it. But
what about this? Can I ask y'all a question? Let me pose a question to you. I'm sure y'all both play football. I'm already sure. When you got that coach that is like, yo, I can't do nothing to impress this dude, and it makes you just dig deep. It's like it's gonna like create a culture where you either gonna go hard or go home.
Yeah.
And if you can't go hard, then we don't want you.
Yeah.
But second of all, when you go from like my coach is my best friend and like, okay, it's really a dog eat dog world out here. Like, because it's gonna be the first time. I'm pretty sure Micah, and this is no, I love Micah, but I'm pretty sure Micah can do whatever he wants. But it's gonna take for Dan Quinn to be like, or not Dan Quinn, for Mike Zimmer to not do Dan Quinn and be like, what the hell was that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because I've seen Micah do some like freelancing. Like I ain't setting the edge. I'm shooting upfield. And there's a 10-yard gap between me and my D tackle because I'm trying to get a sack. And I can see Quinn being like, nah. I mean, I keep saying Quinn. Zimmer being like, nah, that's not flying no more. Set that edge. You earn your pass rush. You stop the run on the way to the quarterback. Not rush the quarterback and stop the run maybe. And I think that the lack of discipline, and I do think that Dan Quinn really, 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 really was preaching chest pass rush. I don't think he was preaching to stop the run. I think it was just kind of like a thing that happened. You know, if that makes sense to y'all.
No, it does. Yeah. And I'll tell you this with Zimmer, he talked about it. Is Florida State, so I don't remember his name because I like to forget Florida State guys. Cornerback played it.
Jay Tuck will call you tomorrow.
He hated. He did not like Zimmer. Zimmer was hard on him, and Zimmer talked about it. It was either in a press conference or in an interview. He talked about it. And one of the first calls he got, he said when he's coming back to Cowboys, you know, later on was this all these players reaching out, and he was one of the players. And he said, "Coach, you were hard on me, but you made me a better player. You made me a better man, and what I am today." So he's one of those guys that's tough on you, but he's one of those coaches that you end up respecting, and you just, you know, at the end of the day, you're going to end up loving him when all said and done. And George Teague talked about Zimmer too, and Teague said that there was, you know, Teague was calling the plays on the defense, and Teague was having trouble with certain plays, and Zimmer knew it. He was having trouble calling, setting the defense. So he took those out. He worked with what was Teague's strengths in calling the defense and calling the plays, or what was giving him trouble, and he worked with that. He's a teacher. I mean, he's a teacher, and I think he's going to.
Said that Kendricks too. Kendricks said that right before we signed him, literally the story, Mike Fisher was saying that we're not going to probably get Kendricks because he don't like Mike Zimmer.
Yeah,
because they've gone at it with each other. Yeah. Friction isn't bad in football. This is a gladiator sport, and it's not for the lighthearted. I don't care if my coaches and my players is going at it if it's going to make us better. You know what I'm saying? Everybody look. Tom Brady's the best quarterback to ever spin the ball.
Yeah,
and all I hear is stories of him getting in his players. You know what, on a regular basis, because you know iron sharpens iron. When we around each other, we gonna go hard or go home. So yeah, I want Zimmer, and I want my players to go back and forth, go at it and grind. I feel like that doesn't happen. I want Mike Zimmer to make Dak's life a living hell in camp.
Yeah,
I want Dak to be like, yo, I ain't even used to this double A gap mug. Like I want it to be. Because you know what? It'll make him better. You know, so I'm just looking forward to the attitude I feel like that Zim's going to bring. Because Zim is like, it's almost like a mercenary. He got a 1-year deal. This is like his Indeed season. He getting his resume together. So he not coming in here to be nobody buddy. And neither is Mike McCarthy. He just hired an agent. So it's something about this whole uneasiness of this season. It's either we gonna spiral out badly or we gonna get the best results ever because everybody uneasy. Nobody got no job security. Like it's just, like you know, it's a lot of uncertainty.
And some like you know they said right, Kelly, is that they play their best. You know, all these contract years.
When you're playing for your job,
guys play their best.
Yeah, well, I do hope one thing that Mike Zimmer could figure out that I feel, and you know, I've seen the game film on it, and I wasn't the one that actually broke any of this down, obviously, but I've seen the game film on it. That it seemed like Quinn could never figure out is that a lot of offenses, and especially in the playoffs, the Niners did it, Green Bay did it a lot, is they tend to, when they run that ball, they tend to run right at Micah. They rub him out of the play, get him out of the play. They run right at Micah. I got a buddy that was a Niners fan in that the first playoff game. He goes, I said, watch what we do. He said, they're going to run right at Micah. I said, they ain't going to run at Micah. And they did the whole damn playoff game. And I saw all the plays, and I'm like, damn, they did. The second time they played us, they did the same damn thing. And then Green Bay, they did the same damn thing. So I hope that Zimmer's got an answer for that, because
the on-speed pitch, if you throw Nealon out there, he 270.
Yes.
Right. And you let Micah set the other edge, or Sam Williams, who is not lightweight, right? And you drop Micah back into that A gap. and because you got to use his versatility to your advantage.
Right
now, Mike is playing linebacker, not necessarily the whole game, but it's a chess match.
Yes.
When you realize we can't just run at him, they're gonna leave Micah in that linebacker. And as soon as you go back to okay, well, we gonna just run a different offense, then you can drop Micah down the rush. I feel like Micah needs to earn his rush. He don't need to just be sitting in there trying to chase sacks. I really feel like that's a detriment to him. His first season and the second season, the versatility of just like where's he coming from?
That's what I want to see.
I missed that. And I think last year we just had nobody else we can, it's not that we didn't have nobody else because we had Fowler, we had Armstrong. I don't know if they trusted them on certain downs.
Yeah.
But teams are used to, it's third down, it's a passing down. Micah Parsons is coming off the edge. But this year, when you look up and it's Kendricks and Micah in the double-A gap because he didn't drop back into coverage, right? And you don't know if they're going to pass rush or bail. And then you look at and you got Lil Fowl coming off the edge or maybe Overshown coming off the edge on a possible blitz, but you also got two stout defensive ends. It's very because the way his scheme is confusing because at the beginning of the play, it almost looks like goal line. Everybody is really close. And I feel like for the quarterbacks in our division, like I said, I always go division out. They're not prepared for that type of confusion. They're just not, especially not Daniels. He's too young. And I really don't have faith in Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be completely frank and honest. Jalen Hurts is a system quarterback. They've been running a specific system that, with the way that they run their offense. And I don't know if I don't know if they're ready for option routes. That's a frustrating life to live that they're going to figure out. That option route life is if you guess wrong, you can end up with 16 interceptions. That's Dak Prescott. So, but that's their problem, not ours.
Yeah.
No, that's why I love Philly. They bashed and Kellen Moore made fun of it. Now they're it wasn't so bad. He's a good. He's good.
You love Kellen now, right? Yeah.
Now they love.
And Barkley was washed up, and now he's like he's
not the IR king anymore. Now he's
the thing. Guy. This is the thing. I will give Jones family this. And I was thinking about this the other day. I'm not saying it's right. I wish we had more balance in the way we did things. I don't want you to spend $100 million in free agency. I also don't want you to spend 11. Like we got to find a balance in there. But you put so much stock into some of these players, and one twisted ankle. I don't wish injury on nobody, but it can change everything. Yeah. You know what I'm saying. And sometimes when you build your team like we do, you're a little bit more insulated for injuries because you haven't put that much cachet into players. Yeah. That's outside of, but I don't think we're insulated everywhere because I do think we need another receiver, and I'm a stand on that. But my point is, Saquon, they got so much in stock in Saquon, and if Saquon twists the ankle, they have nobody behind him.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, y'all playing a dangerous game. Well, look, like I said, that's their problems. I'm not wishing injuries on nobody because I want my team to stay healthy.
We'll trade Deuce Vaughn to him for a 3rd round draft pick. Here you go, Philly.
I'll take. Look, I said this the other day on my video. I said I'll take Miles Sanders, and a Philly fan came in there and said, "Miles Sanders had never played for y'all." I said, "We just had Jason Peters play for us."
Yeah.
You guys think that loyalty go out the window when you try and get a contract?
Yeah.
Miles Sanders will play for anybody that will pay him.
Yeah.
Jason Peters is going in the Hall of Fame at Cowboy.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know what? When we first signed him, I said, I wonder how this is going to go. And even though he was badly built, a couple of those games, he showed up.
He helped us.
Yeah,
so
he did.
It is what it is. I'll take X, and because I know he's not here to start anyway. But it's just I know to circle back to the beginning of the video, we gonna add somebody else in this running back room. It's just a question of who.
Yeah. Well, talking about, addition, and adding some players, like one thing that, I think Cowboys fans, and I do forget it often myself too, is in the way of an addition with not actually being addition, we are getting, 2 players back on this defense with an Overshown who, we still don't really know what he brings to the table, but there is some hype around him. I do tell people, and me and Mike have talked about this, that we can't just automatically put the gold jacket on the guy. I remember when Jabril Cox a few years ago was going to be the next, the next great linebacker, and you saw that panned out. But we are getting him back.
I do it all the time. I know I'm wrong. I do all the time.
No, it happens, but but we're also getting Diggs back at the cornerback position. But one of the names that's getting floated out there that people were talking about, that it just seems like he's sitting out there waiting to talk, that he wants to come back to the Cowboys. Me personally, I'd love to see him wearing number 21 again next year, and it's not Ezekiel Elliott. It's my boy Gilly.
Yes,
so
sir.
what do you think about that? Do you think that we're going to do you think we'll sign him back, and are you for getting him back on this defense?
I'm 100% for Gilly. For what I understand right now, the thing that's holding up any type of negotiations with Gilly and anybody, he's still rehabbing. And I didn't know he was still rehabbing because he had surgery. So anybody that's going to sign a veteran at that age, they need clean bill of health.
Yeah.
And he can't give clean bill of health because he's still rehabbing. Like, he wouldn't pass a physical right now. So I do think that within the next month or so, there's going to June 1st is the magical date. Because that's cut date. There's a lot of players that there's advanced June 1st cuts, and then there's like actual June 1st cuts. After OTAs, there's going to be a couple teams that start making decisions like, we can cut them because it's saving money, really. That's why they cut people, so they can sign some of these rookies. So Stephen Jones is waiting for his Christmas, June 1st cuts. And I really do think that around that time, when some players start getting cut and things like that, because y'all got to remember, our Michael Gallup money kicks in then.
Yeah.
We save money from cut.
Gallup. Can I ask you? I was talking about this with my brother at lunch today, and this is not just Gallup, but it happens in the NFL all the time. So we cut him, right? We cut him, and he ends up signing a 1-year, $3 million contract for the Raiders. I'm just going to say this. I would have taken him on a 1-year, $3 million deal this year. But is it when you cut them, you just kind of move on? But it's just weird because you see some of these guys, and you're like, man, I would have kept him for $3 million this year and sign him back. And why wouldn't they work out a deal? You think it's time to move on?
It's all on what Stephen Jones says. Stephen Jones, Will McClay, you hear them lately. They're talking about these players must step up, and sometimes it's progress stoppers. It's not that the players aren't good. It's just more so they want to clear out the way. And they really put stock and faith in some of their players. They're literally like, look, Sam Williams, if we're going to know if you're going to pay dividends, we have to move Dorrance Armstrong as far as like move him out the way and not re-sign him.
Yeah.
As much as Dante Fowler would have been an asset to this team, because I really think he was still great, I got to see what my younger pass rushers can do. I want to see what Junior Fujoko can do, because next year seems to be the Exodus year, where they're really going to clear out players that can't. Like, this is let's see who can play here. I know, but I hate it because it's like, hey man, I'm trying to win a championship and y'all playing around. But I really do.
Years, man. I need the shit now.
Yeah, I can't. I don't want to play. I don't got time to be sitting around. I don't got $1 billion. So I want wins. Y'all playing around like, what I'm saying? This is just a toy to y'all. Y'all playing Madden. I'm being serious. But I really do feel like with Gilly, I do think they would sign him if he's healthy, but it's going to have to be what he's talking money-wise. They're in communication. There's some smoke to that fire. Yeah. I just think it's more so, is he fully healthy? And from what I've been hearing, he wants a 2-year deal, and they only want to give out 1-year deals. So if no one else offers him a 2-year deal, we in the game.
Yeah.
If Carolina Panthers and somebody offer him a 2-year deal, we might be out the game, unless he's like, I do want to play to win. I feel like Gilmore would be perfect for this team, not necessarily because we need him to officially just start. I feel like the one thing, this is another thing I think the Cowboys did that people aren't paying attention to. There are 2 players that the Cowboys really, really like, well, really love, I think, that they do not want to rush back like normal and put pressure on them to come back. I think that's Trayvon Diggs, and I think that's Demarion Overshown. Mm-hmm. So I think I think they want them to heal up properly, because in years past, I think they rushed Gallup back and put too much pressure on him. And the reason why he looked so bad was because he wasn't healthy.
Yeah.
I think they rushed back Steele. And I think he's going to look way different this year because he's not going to be rushed back. So I think Luafau, I know I'm saying his name wrong, but this linebacker we got from Notre Dame, Maurice, it's not even that he's going to start. I think most time when you're running the nickel, you only start 2 linebackers. I think it's going to be Kendrick and Clark, whether people like Damone Clark or not. They're not giving up on Damone Clark, people. You guys just going to digest it. He going to be starting. And I think after him, it'll be Luafau or Overshown. And then on specific downs, it's going to be Kendricks and Micah. But eventually, if they have their, what they want when we're running our 4-3 and there's 3 linebackers on the field, I think Overshown will get out there. But I think they're going to work outside of him just having a phenomenal camp and looking like he hasn't lost a step. I feel like they're going to be smart and working him back in slowly. I also think with Trayvon Diggs, the Carson pick, I think with Carson, you got Bland, you got
any hope in that Eric Scott they drafted last year? Is he good?
Exactly.
I know he showed a little bit in preseason, and then
so that's why I feel like Gilmore will be perfect because it could be like, hey, Diggs, you're gonna be good. And I know he tore his ACL early, but that's $100 million investment. You wanted to come back properly. Yeah. So if Diggs ain't gonna be good to week 5. Having a Gilmore on his team and a young, hungry corner like Carson from Wake Forest that we just drafted, we can make that work for like the first 4 or 5 weeks and let Diggs come back healthy rather than rushing him back and putting him on the island versus number 1. Like, you don't want to do that. You just don't.
It's long. I mean, it's a long season now. I mean, you're talking
17 weeks or 18 weeks.
Any chance of going to the Super Bowl? You're playing a lot of football.
Well, and what I like about the DBs though also is Al Harris has shown the way he has developed our DBs. If you look at that jump, you remember year 2 was the year that Diggs had all the interceptions, right?
Yes, sir.
And then the next year he came in and really took it to another level to become that lockdown corner, right? Well, you got Bland coming into year 3. Year 2 is his year. He'd get all these pick sixes, right? So you got to look at it. I'm excited anyway about the development from year 2 to 3 to see if we see that similar kind of jump between Deron Bland in year 2 to year 3.
They say Gilly was a big Gilly is like a coach on the field. That's why I'm with you.
Yeah.
Please bring him back because we do got some younger corners that I think that he can take under his like he just teaches people like him and Cooks. That's why I like Brandon Cooks on his team because they said that Cooks took Jalen Tolbert, or Cooks said it. He had Jalen Tolbert come live with him for like 7-8 weeks.
Yeah,
and they just was training together. And you think that stuff is minor? That stuff is major.
Yeah,
because if Cooks don't do nothing, he gonna eat right. He gonna train right. That's why he because he been in the league for like 10 years. But he like 30. Like, he came in the league so young. He knows how to play NFL. He a professional wide receiver. That's when I look at a veteran like that. And if Jalen Tolbert's going to get every opportunity, you want him to be properly preparing and not playing around.
Yeah.
So I like that. That's why Gilmore is excellent. Take these young corners under your belt. Brandon Cooks, if we're not going to bring any other receivers, you take Jalen Brooks, you take Jalen Tolbert, get our players ready where the coaches can't because, with the new rules, we can't practice as a team. So it's valuable when you get a chance to get a veteran that's going to take you under your wing, you know what I'm saying, and teach you things. And like the Cowboys should be looking at that like a bonus.
Oh, absolutely. No, I mean, and the thing is like, to me, more than anything is, I think what's held this team back is just the I don't want to say culture. I know that was the hot word for a while, but just that mentality, the dog. It's if I'm the Cowboys, right? If I'm Dak, and I mean, it's us against the world. It's everyone's dogging us. We laid the biggest egg in humiliation, fashion in the playoffs, and Cowboys fans have turned on you. People are
everybody.
Jersey, don't buy a hat. Don't worry about where I spend my money. Worry about where you spend yours. So you know what I'm saying. So it's all this stuff that's going in there. It's got to be an us against them mentality. Even McCarthy, they've got to be just a brick on your shoulder. I mean, they got to be wanting it. And I
love that though. I think we haven't had that I think we've had like last year. Our motto was Carpe Omnia, and it was seize everything. And it felt like a manufactured motto. It didn't feel organic. And I don't know if there's going to be a catchy motto this year, but what I do know is this is one of the rare years I can live, because we do come into seasons overhyped. It's just part of the game.
Yeah.
This is one of the rare years that I don't know how a media person could formulate a way to say we're overhyped. They just, I think they're kind of frustrated because they're like, we can't even hype them up. You can't.
No,
you have to let us play the underdog role.
Favorites in the
Stephen A came out and said that the Cowboys are making it too easy to troll them. He said you're making it too easy because you're doing nothing. He said you're doing nothing. So
yeah, but it's good though. I like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I'm fine with that because there's that. This old played out logic that in which I'm gonna just be honest, I don't hear any Cowboys fans say this ever, but everybody gets this thing that Cowboys fans are always saying, this is our year, this is our year. I ain't
never met one. Y'all point me to one, please, and I ain't met one.
Never said this is our year. I might have said that back in 95. I said this is our year, but I ain't said that shit in a long ass time.
Well, I expect to win a Super Bowl. I'm not going to these games for pass time.
Don't get me wrong. The expectation is always a Super Bowl, but I'm not sitting there like last year. I wasn't sitting there and talking about week 2. I'm like, man, this is a Super Bowl team. This is our year.
I just never said that phrase. It's one of those things. I plan on it don't matter who we're playing. I plan on winning.
Yeah,
when I do my little prediction, I rarely say, "Hey, man, I don't see it." I'm a fake see it. I think we can win every game.
17-0.
But as far as like Vach say, we go 17-0 till we not. But as far as like with Stephen A. Smith or with like the manufactured hate for the Cowboys, a lot of it is just like it's cliche. It's cool to just say, y'all delusional, y'all this, y'all that. But it's one of those things where this year, those tropes they ring hollow. Because you can't point to like, oh, y'all did this big thing in the offseason. You almost have to acknowledge, are y'all trying to lose? Like, and I don't think we're trying to lose. I think just our point of view this year is just like what Jerry said, we got to do more with less. I don't know if that's going to work, but for our players' mentality, they really do got to feel like, yo, it's us against the world for real. Yeah. Like you really going into your coach, like when McCarthy talks to his troops, he gotta literally acknowledge, hey, I don't got a contract next year, and he can point around the room. You don't, and you don't, and you don't. Like earlier this, I think I gotta find an article. I can send it to you guys. They were like, it's like 35 Cowboys that are on 1-year deals.
Yeah.
That is
he should do that.
Bananas.
Right? He should do that. He should do that in a meeting.
That's where we at. I don't think, and it's just gonna be one of those things where it's gonna be an uneasy tension. Everyone's gonna be playing their best ball, whether I'm gonna be here or somewhere else next year. Let's try something different. Because we've been doing the cushy job security, everybody's happy. That ain't working. So let's try something else.
I mean, if it were me, if I was a coach, they don't want me. They don't want you. You know what I'm saying? Nobody here wants us. So let's go out there.
What's that baseball movie where they say let's go out and win the whole damn thing? What is that baseball?
That was
Major League.
Major League.
Major League, yeah.
There's only one thing to do: go out and win the whole damn thing.
I mean, that's where they're at, right?
Well, that's exactly where they're at.
And I look at this Cowboys team, and I look at this team, and I look at the schedule, and I think that, and I'm not sitting here trying to say that we can be that team, but I say what matters about any team that you're talking about is how you're playing when you get to the playoffs. Like, you look at this Cowboys team, they didn't lose a home game in 2 years, and then they go into this playoff game. Everybody's thinking,
arrogant though. Arrogant.
No way we're losing to Green Bay, and then they lose. But I look back at the Giants in 2012 were 9-7 and won the Super Bowl. And I mean, when you look at that team, they didn't really do anything to like blow anybody away. I had to pull it up real quick and see. I mean, they lost 2 of their last 3 going into the playoffs, and one of those games was a 34-0 loss to Atlanta. And
but, didn't they play? To your point, didn't they play New England tough one of those games?
They did. They had a game against.
Last game I think.
Yeah,
They didn't beat them. I think they just played them tough. See, that's what it takes. We need to I'm feeling you, Kelly. We need to have that type of a gritty game, like with less expectations.
Yep.
Right. Versus like a San Francisco. We need to get our mojo back.
Yeah.
And right now, this ain't got nothing to do with talent. And I think that's what Jerry Jones and them are doing. But knowing, like when you say this on Twitter, the most toxic place on earth, you can't have this conversation. You can only have it here where it's a forum where I don't got to argue back and forth with a stranger. This is a change in philosophy across the board. And the fan base don't want to hear that right now. But at the end of the day, we have been doing the same thing over and over again. And it would be insane to just do the exact same things. Now, that doesn't mean don't sign free agents. That's a little too extreme. You could have signed 2 or 3 people. But it's been too much comfort. Yes. And I still want to sign Dak Prescott. They can sign him tomorrow. But I do think they want to keep an uneasy locker room. I think that this is on purpose. Because it's the only thing that makes logical sense. I feel like they're like, okay, we'll ramp up the Dak signing. Maybe because I don't know if you guys ever noticed, the Cowboys tend to do these signings in August. I don't know what it's about. I think it's like a moment. Camp, right? It's like a momentum for the season. Yeah. I feel like they're going to keep us uneasy, keep the team uneasy, and then right before the season, they're going to sign Dak and like CD.
Yeah.
And we'll carry that momentum into the year. Because I don't think that they don't want their core. I think they just are tired of everybody feeling like they're a made man, including Dak.
Yeah.
They want everybody to earn it. And I can't get mad. Look, if I ran the team, I'm sure I would get frustrated at points if I'm trying to put myself in their shoes. They want better results like we do.
Yeah.
So they're like, yo.
On after the game. Everybody.
Everybody got to put in work. Now, I know people will say, well, when did they get the same type of circumstances? And I hate to be realistic, but they on the team, they don't. So you gotta just eat it. They never gonna have nobody. No one can make them feel that type of pressure because they the owners. So that's a pipe dream. You gotta just let that one go. But everybody else, they can put the pressure on.
Yeah.
Well, I think the thing with a lot of people is that there's a lot of fans out there that look at the early success of some of these guys and they'll point to certain guys and say, well, this guy did it at this age, this guy won a Super Bowl at this age, but I mean, if you look through the history of the league, it's not like that. It's not like, they're like, well, there's I'm getting the stat now where they say, well, there's never been a quarterback that hasn't made it to a championship game in his first 8 years and went on to win the Super Bowl. Well, records and stats.
Yeah, what is that? But that's stupid to me. That's dumb. That's a stat that they found to discredit just to make Dak look bad.
Right.
And look, I understand. He has had lately, recency bias is crazy. Lately, his playoff games have not went ideal.
No.
But people seem to forget that earlier on his first 4 years of playoff games looked totally different. I watch him go toe-to-toe with Aaron Rodgers. I watch him come out firing in that Rams game. Before they started to run the ball down our throat, he was slinging it with no pressure, no nothing. I saw him in the Seattle game help ice the game, him and Zeke on that last drive. So it's just been lately. And people are human. Dak Prescott, 100%, he needs to see probably a sports psychiatrist because these last 3 or 4 playoff games and the pressure of the world, I ain't never seen nobody take this much scrutiny. I'm just being honest. Yeah. Like to the point where they're breaking down. If you watched everyone's playoff games, and I'm gonna swing back to a point Mike made earlier. There's no quarterbacks that don't have running games. Do yourself a favor. Go back and look at every quarterback that won last year or the years prior. And it's not necessarily a running back. It's accumulation of what the running game did. I watched the running game for Philadelphia drag Jalen Hurts to a Super Bowl. Now, he had a phenomenal Super Bowl. They lost. Thank you. But
that was good.
My point was, if you look at how they got there, They beat the Giants. They were 200 plus yards rushing on the Giants, and they ran the ball on the 49ers. You look at Joe Burrow's Super Bowl run, it was defense and running game. He didn't throw a touchdown on his entire way to this. And Joe Burrow is cold. I love Joe Burrow.
Oh, no, he's one of my favorites.
He can ball. And it's one of those things where, there are times when your running game in the playoffs, it's needed. It just is.
Well, you look at those 2 San Francisco games, we didn't crack 50 yards rushing in either one of those games.
We haven't broke 50 yards rushing in any playoff game.
The last 3 losses, for sure.
It's just, it's one of those things, and it's because we can't situationally run. We just can't, and it's just, I understand I'm pretty sure I can't see the comments. There's somebody saying stop making excuses for Dak. Now, I understand it
somewhere,
but I've seen last year in the last Super Bowl, Patrick Mahomes might be the second best quarterback to ever sling it. Let's just see how his career ends.
Yeah.
And earlier on in that game, their offense wasn't clicking.
Yeah.
You know who bowed their back though? Their defense said, "Hey, if you go back and watch that Super Bowl again, there was literally cutaways to the sideline of Chris Jones pointing and yelling at defenders, tighten it up."
Yeah.
They tightened it up. Patrick Mahomes he threw, I think, at least one interception on a pivotal moment. I don't know if y'all remember.
Oh, he did play well. Absolutely.
And I understand that's Patrick Mahomes, and for people that's going to say, how dare you compare Dak Prescott and Pat? I know how people get.
Harrison. That's the thing. These idiots. You mention one name, and then all of a sudden you're comparing. You're talking about.
How dare you?
About
it's just, but
and there was somebody in the chat that did say great quarterbacks open up the running game, which I'm gonna just say that's bullshit because Patrick Mahomes was struggling like
and Pacheco came through.
Pacheco came through, and that opened up the pass game. So that's total bullshit. There's not quarterbacks don't open up the run game. It's the opposite. That's why they got play action pass. That's where you see the play action pass.
There's not times when Patty throws that team on his back. And there are times when you look up, this is why people forget that football is a multiple man sport. There are times in playoff runs that I've seen Travis Kelce elevate and make a play or a catch when Patrick Mahomes' pass might have been off. Or I've seen Chris Jones literally take over playoff games like, oh, he just can't be blocked. And that's what we expect out of 11.
Yeah.
And this isn't a slight to 11 or to Diggs or to D-Law. It's just at some point, somebody else got to step up and do something else when because you know what? Eventually, Dak snapped out of it. But it was too late. I saw San Fran come out and Detroit was stomping them. Mm-hmm. They were down by 20. I'm going to send y'all a clip too. So I went back and looked at it. Early third quarter, they were down by 18. Early third quarter.
Yeah, they had a chance to put them away. I remember.
And I watched Debo. I see players in these games, because they always do those cutaways. I watched Debo and them yelling on the sidelines at each other. Let's go. In the urgency of whatever happened, they got one score and they started to walk them down and took the lead. It's like we just looked shell-shocked. No one was yelling at nobody. We just was like, I guess we're gonna lose again. Like that's like it just looked like
Aaron Rodgers said it. You saw the sounds of the game and punch these front runners right in the mouth. And Dallas, they don't respond. We have never, and I'm sure
who had juice though? Jake Ferguson by himself.
Yeah,
Jake Ferguson was the only one that just didn't look scared the whole game.
Yeah. No, and it's just that's what I don't see from this team. And I'll hold a quarterback responsible for that.
No question, he deserved a lot of flack for that.
It's what Michael Irvin preaches, and it's what Emmitt Smith talked about. Is these big players, your superstars got to play like stars in big games, and our superstars don't play like stars. Micah, he deserves a little bit of criticism. I know he gets double teamed or whatever, but his stat line.
No, but I stand on this. Now I've done it after every playoff game. Because people think I don't criticize Dak. They are wrong.
Yeah.
Dak Prescott, front of the line, you make the most, you're the quarterback. Yes, you got to take a lot of the blame. CeeDee Lamb, you an all-pro, take some of this all-pro blame because you got to find a way.
Yeah.
You can't have that drop in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because if your quarterback's slightly off, you make that. You know what? I hate to be that guy, but Mike makes that catch. Because maybe that one catch settles your quarterback down. Hey, dog, I know you're a little high today. Let's get it going. That's what I'm saying. Like, where's that person that's like, hey, snap out of it? We ain't got the snap out of it guy. It was just like everybody looks shell shocked. Like, where's the and if it ain't gonna be Dak, that's where Micah needs to start taking a bigger leadership approach. Or D Law, somebody like no one just you should have called a timeout. What is wrong with y'all? Because we are not Packers almost dropped 50 on us bad.
Yeah.
We might have lost, but it should have been close. Go ahead, Kelly. My fault.
No, I was just going to say that game when you said that, it almost reminded me of a situation like in basketball when some shit starts to get out of hand and like, all right, timeout.
What is going on?
We're gonna settle it down, and almost just like and I'm right there with you. And I've said the same thing. I said Dak has all the physical aspects. I said lately it seems like it's kind of the mental thing, and he almost gets in his own head. And you look to him saying, okay, you're the quarterback of the team. You're the leader. You can't look shook. You can't look shell shocked. If you look shell shocked, the rest of the team kind of gonna fold up with you. But I say this. Last year, everybody's like, oh, Dak put up all these stats and it didn't mean nothing in the long run. Well, yeah, it does mean something because, first of all, like what he did was that he had a great season. Let's take the
coming off a season where people wanted to bury him.
Yeah, saying that he led the league in interceptions. And then I also look at this. This is something that can't be ignored when we talked about this defense. When we played, and I looked up the numbers, when we played teams over a 500 record, our defense averaged 32 points a game we gave up. 32 points a game on teams that were over 500 record. So this defense did not play well.
It was a mirage.
The better team. Yeah, no, I mean, they beat the living shit out of the bad teams, but when it came to these good teams, Dak's having to score 40 points or we ain't winning.
That's the thing.
It's not sustainable football.
Kelly, you're making you're making an excellent point. This is the thing. Your quarterback is battling in these games. In the Seattle game, when your defense is just giving up scores, I'm watching Dak go score for score. I watched him drive down in the Miami game and have an MVP moment and score and hit Cooks. First of all, that's a pressurized pass. He's on point to hit that. I watched him drive down and score in the Detroit game.
Yep, another one.
So he can play in pressurized moments. I watched Dak Prescott. The fury. If you go back and watch that opening speech after a whole off season of this dude is terrible. He led the league in interceptions. He's the worst quarterback. That furious speech he gave in versus the Giants when it was raining, and he was like, "We gonna kill. We out here. We gonna." I forgot what he said. He said, "We gonna kill. We gonna talk ish." I gotta find that clip. It was raining, and his mentality was like locked in. And somewhere along the way throughout the year, it's like his will got broken because there was moments where he was battling, and I don't think he had as much confidence in his defense. I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
As it was early in the year. And I think 100%, and then you call it an excuse if you want to, I think in that playoff game, when he saw, oh, I got to score every drive, he started to press, and that was it. Because that's not his game.
Yeah.
When he tried to press, and I'm going to force it to CeeDee Lamb because we got to score because apparently Green Bay going to score every drive. And that's what broke us. But I think at a point, they settled down and started to score, and it was too late. But you got to know as a coach or as a teammate or something, somebody got to be the snap out of it guy. And maybe it's that dude that's sitting behind your right shoulder, Kelly. Maybe it's him. Maybe it's Zeke that could have slapped something into his friend like, yo, man, settle down.
Yeah.
Because you tripping. Because I don't know what happened in that game. It's the most, and you know what? That game is symbolic because it put our whole fan base, ownership. It's like we still on the mat for standing, and we can't get up. It's like every time we feel like we getting up, we get knocked back down. And I don't know if we're gonna be right till the game start again, because it's like every little positive comes some other negative. If y'all feeling that, it ain't been.
It's going to be interesting when that schedule comes out. The first game that's on the Cowboys. You got to think it's going to be a Sunday night game.
I need that though. Ain't that soon? I need that schedule release
this month. They're doing it.
Something about that to bring hope. It just brings.
I just want to say something, and I've been going back and forth saying, should I even bring it up? But in the chat, and this is just a response. And let me preface this and make sure no one slices up the tape. Troy Aikman's my favorite quarterback all time. I love Troy Aikman. He's a winner. He's everything. 3-time Super Bowl champion. But there was a comment that said Troy Aikman doesn't play it bad in big games. Super Bowl 28, 207 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. He was coming off a concussion. He did not play well. And Emmitt Smith in that defense is what got the Cowboys to the Super Bowl. It takes a team.
It takes a team. Carolina
Panthers playoff game, the end of our glory years. 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. Dion gets hurt. Michael gets hurt. I mean, everyone got hurt.
When you play that long, you're going to have. Hey, newsflash, people! Michael Jordan had bad games. I know it's sacrilegious.
I love Michael Jordan. Did he really?
Montana, I know, but look, Montana had bad games. Like the goats. Look, John Elway, one of the best to ever do it. These are the quarterbacks I grew up watching. But you know when he really hit his stride? Back when he could give it a TD. Like it changed things. It just changed things. So no, we need and maybe Mike is about to hit that stride. I think that's the one thing most people won't give credit to. This man is young. And I know you want to compare him to Aaron Donald and TJ Watt, but he 3 years in now. And these dudes 9-10 years in the league, they veterans. Let him get the 9-10 years in the league. Maybe he can take over. Even Chris Jones has been in the league for what?
Yeah.
8 years?
Yeah.
Sometimes when you get that veteran savvy under you, I know what to do to take this game over. And I think Mike is matriculating towards that. But it's not fair to expect a sophomore linebacker edge rusher to just know how to take over a game. It's not fair. I know he's a Cowboy and life ain't fair as a Cowboy.
No, but it comes. All of it comes with it. And I just saw, my man Booker Washington. We talked about Zeke. We think Zeke's going to play a role. I don't think he's going to be the Zeke of 2016, but we could have used Zeke last year. I think in short yardage, I think in inside the 5, he might only average 3.5 yards a carry, but it's going to be because he's doing a lot of dirty yards.
Dirty work.
Carry so much.
And Mike, I just want to say something, man. I don't know why I have to do this, but I feel like I just need to let these revisionists know, because in the chat I see this guy said they want the defense to hold even when Dak was going 3 and out and the defense had no rest. I'm just gonna read to you real quick. The Chiefs' first 7 possessions were a punt, a fumble, a punt, a field goal, an interception, and a punt. The fuck are you talking about?
Super Bowl.
And they won. So don't tell me that, we do expect that. Because if you
got the greatest. Oh, I'm sorry. You got me hyped, Kelly.
Come on. We do expect the defense to show up. It was the number 5 ranked defense. We expected them to show up and not give 42 damn points to Green Bay, the 7 seed at home. That's not something you shouldn't be like, yes, we expect the defense to show up. Of course. These people sit there. It's like, do you watch the same game that we're all watching? I mean,
I don't even know what to say. I just co-signed because yes. That's exactly.
It's frustrating.
And look, and that's Patrick. And look, there was times earlier in Brady's career. Brady won Super Bowls throwing for under 200 yards or right over 200 yards, and he lost the Super Bowl where he threw for 550. It's a team game. He lost that Philly Super Bowl. That was his most yardage ever in the Super Bowl, and he lost. But earlier in his career, when he had Teddy Bruschi in them, he would just go out there and manage the game and win, because it's all about strategy. It ain't as simple as, you got the best quarterback, you should automatically win. That's just not how it works. I'm sorry. It's not. I saw Patrick, look, I remember that Super Bowl versus the Bucks.
Yeah.
Patrick was running for his life.
Yeah.
He's throwing passes literally sideways in the air, 40 yards on a dime, but he still couldn't win because you know what? The Bucs had a better team.
Yeah.
And that's what people need to, they just got to get that whole, Dak can't carry, no quarterback almost has ever carried their team fully and won a championship. I can't think of a time where there wasn't like, no, because that team had this or that team had that. Every team has like special elements on why they win. Even our hated rivalry, our hated rival. To our point, Philly don't win that Super Bowl if their backup quarterbacks don't step up and play well.
Yeah.
Entire team.
Yeah.
You know, if Nick Foles don't step up and play well, they don't got a chip.
Yeah.
And their defense play. I mean, everything,
and then it's also, like you said, there's elements to it. You've got to have a great team, but there's also other elements that lead to things. You got to have some breaks, some things that fall your way.
Luck, baby.
Last time ain't on our side no more. I don't know.
When's the last time that some luck has fallen the Cowboys' way? I mean, you look, I sit there and I love to talk, I love that how cocky it got Eagles fans when they talk about Jalen Hurts, who I'm just going to say he's had 2 mediocre as hell seasons and 1 season that was a good season with a great team. In the playoffs, they played nobody. They got to play the Niners on their 3rd string quarterback. They got to play the Giants with Danny Pesos. I mean, come on, man. Like they got one of the
blown out by the Buccaneers twice.
The Buccaneers they're 49ers. Every time they see the Buccaneers, it go bad.
No, but it's just that thing that they had a great offensive line, they had a great defensive line. And then what happened? Their defensive line the next year, they lost a couple key pieces off of their defense. They got a new defensive coordinator, new offensive coordinator, and then Jalen Hurts came right back down to earth. So, you get all these people that are like, well, Jalen Hurts made it to a Super Bowl in his second. How come Dak can't make? It's not the same scenario. Everybody always wants to compare and clone and say, well, if this happened, then Dak should be able to do this. But you were removing the elements. You're not looking at the whole picture. You got to look at
people are stupid because it ain't that simple. Because you can't. Eli Manning got 2 Super Bowls. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And he was clutching them Super Bowls. He was clutching them runs. Right. And if you look at his playoff runs, he looks better than his brother, but he's not better than his brother. It ain't that simple. It just ain't that simple. I'm sorry to tell people. You know who got an incredible playoff record? Joe Flacco.
Yeah. No, Joe Flacco had some runs.
Joe Flacco has balled and went on amazing runs. But if you line Joe Flacco up versus a lot of quarterbacks, you're just not taking them over them. It's lazy, Kelly. It's a lazy way to analyze a quarterback. It's very lazy. It's like you can't throw out the entire regular season and boil things down to one game. You can't. And I do it to other quarterbacks to be petty, but you just can't. You can't look at Josh Allen. Somebody else said it's scrutinized, right?
Yeah.
Phenomenal season statistically. He had a playoff game this year where he just couldn't beat Patty. That's fine. No. Who they lose to? They lose to Patrick Mahomes this year?
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where I think they beat him in the regular season and they lost.
Yeah, they lost him in the playoffs.
And it's one of those things where it's just like, well, Patrick or is Josh Allen who he is? No. His playoff luck just hasn't worked out. Do I think that Josh Allen's a bad quarterback in essence? No. Do I use him as a comparison for Dak Prescott a lot? Yeah, because I'm defending my quarterback. But a lot of these quarterbacks are a lot better than people want to give them credit for. They just want to use that playoff trope because they just haven't had that magical run. At the end of the day, there's only one quarterback holding these trophies up. And if everybody's going to use you haven't won a championship as the measuring stick, then everybody need to hang it up until somebody else can beat this dude. Yeah. Well, except for Joe. Joe got a good record versus Pat. Joe ain't afraid of Patrick Mahomes. That's another. We could do another stream on that.
No. But you're
Well,
not a lot of quarterbacks win Super Bowls, and there is a lot of that luck to it. And you look at like a Justin Herbert, who everyone says is all-world talent, this and that. I mean, he got beat in the playoffs by Jacksonville, blew a huge lead. And is it all on him or is it on the team? And that's where I say the quarterbacks get too much of the blame. They get too much of the credit. And I'm just saying this, and I've never in my life seen a fan base so divided on a quarterback, but a quarterback that I think we can argue a real legitimate argument is top 5, top 7 in the NFL, coming
That's
off
it.
a runner-up in how many teams would salivate to get a quarterback?
We have,
I
watched Jay Tuck sent me he got a real close friend that's a Raiders fan. There are literally Raiders like fan forums with Dak Prescott and Raiders jerseys, because a lot of teams are convinced like, let him walk. Because it's funny, like Cowboys fans look at Dak Prescott like he's the weakest link, right? And there's some teams out there that he would walk in there and it wouldn't be funny no more. Because Dak Prescott walking to the Steelers right now, where Russell Wilson is set up, and it ain't funny no more because that's a genuinely stout defense. You just need competent quarterback play. Or if Dak Prescott took over for Seattle Seahawks, they would come roll us.
Yeah.
With DK Metcalf and Smith, and they got so many receivers. Like, so it's one of those, and they just took McDonald from the Ravens. I know the Seahawks not going to be fun to play. And my only point is this. It's not that he's the best quarterback in the league, but to just throw an asset away, no disrespect to Trey Lance, I don't want to go from 36 touchdowns on a normal basis to 15, because we can beat the Giants. Daniel Jones throws for 16 touchdowns, and they got to celebrate that. Like, our life can be different. And I don't think Cowboys fans understand that. Like, the Bears just drafted Caleb Williams. They've never had a 4,000-yard passer in franchise history, and they've been a franchise before us.
Well, look at how the narrative changed with Matthew Stafford when he goes to a team that has a competent play caller and a little bit of talent around him. We won a Super Bowl, and just to add something to somebody in the chat, I think Dak Delusional Fans needs to change his name to Delusional Fan, because he said here, no team offered to trade for Dak. Well, Dak has a no trade clause, so nobody could offer a trade for us. So you got to do some research, buddy, before you start commenting on something you don't know.
If he thinks that nobody wants Dak Prescott, he lying to himself.
If Dak Prescott did not have the no trade clause, there would have been several teams that would have called for him. If you
ask yourself this.
Atlanta Falcons that just gave Kirk Cousins $100 million plus contract. If you don't think they would have taken Dak Prescott in the blink of an eye if they could have, then you might
ask yourself this: if Dak Prescott, if Dak Prescott walked, I know that the Giants have Daniel Jones, but if we started Trey Lance next year and the Giants signed Dak Prescott, let's just be real. How confident you feeling in that Giants game? Versus if we got Trey Lance and they got Dak Prescott, just be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
And they got Malik Neighbors too, so you can't say they don't got no receivers no more. I don't know if I would be happy if I watched 4 rolling in my stadium with and no disrespect to Trey Lance, but I would be like, man, I don't know what we gonna do, and I would be furious. And that could be a reality. You think a division rival wouldn't sign him?
Oh yeah, Washington, like they drafted a quarterback, but Giants would right now because they gave, they're giving up on Daniel Jones. There'd be a line down the street for Dak Prescott if they let him go next year. And I've been on record, do what the hell you want. I'm a fan. I will
still be a fan. I might be just run a little bit, but I get over it.
What?
I might be. Look, if Dak walked and Trey became the quarterback, I'm not going to be what a lot of fans are to Dak to Trey. I would support Trey, but we would have to play a different type of football to win games. It would just be different. My point is this: it would be confusing because it would be like purposefully sabotaging yourself to prove a point. And I'm just not with that. And I get people with this whole salary thing. Hey man, when your quarterback plays well, you got to pay him. So whether it's Dak Prescott or the next guy, when they play well, it's going to cost money. And if you want to take advantage of the rookie pay scale, then you should be getting mad at your ownership, because we had that chance. We just squandered it. So like, don't get mad at, like, they get mad at what we do. They get mad at us. Like, I run the team. Like, I got people mad at me because I'm happy about, like, I'm supporting the Zeke signing. Hey, man, I didn't sign him. I don't run or operate the Cowboys.
Just what these guys make.
You know what I mean? I don't know. The other thing I'll say about Trey Lance is, I mean, didn't he have a chance to beat out Jimmy Garoppolo? How did that go? I mean,
Trey Lance can't beat out Cooper Rush. No disrespect.
No,
but he really can't, because
there's a reason
you think the Cowboys don't want to save money on that?
No, I mean,
Rush is making what, $3 million?
Yeah,
that's a D tackle,
right?
So if Trey Lance did his job, Cooper Rush would have got cut. No disrespect, Cooper Rush. If Trey Lance was that good, we would save that $3 million, and then we probably could have kept Hankins.
Yeah,
there's a reason.
If you thought if the Cowboys were really high on Trey Lance and they thought, you know what, we're going to move on from Dak and Trey Lance is the guy, I'll kill that right now. Cowboys would have picked up that 5th-year option, because they could have at least gone into next year and say, you know what, at least we pick up the 5th-year option, we get him on a cheaper deal, quarterback on a cheaper deal, and he can replace Dak. The fact that they didn't pick up the 5th-year option lets you know right there, Trey Lance is not in their future.
Hey, can I give people? I heard Mike Fisher say something that made complete sense, right? Dak Prescott has a no trade clause, but there's a way to get a player to waive a no trade clause.
Yeah.
You just tell them, like the Seattle Seahawks did to Russell Wilson.
Right.
Hey, Dak, let me just keep it real with you. We don't want you no more. So let's work together to get you in another place. You have to go tell him that. The Jones family ain't got there yet. As much as y'all, like, they might be doing a whole bunch of pump faking, but if they wanted Dak gone, if they roll in there and say, hey, we don't want you no more. We've made calls. We found 3 teams. We found the Raiders. We found whatever teams that are willing to trade for you. We're not going to sign you next year. Let's go ahead and get you with a team that's going to support you like you deserve to be supported. He'd waive it, but they don't want to do that.
No.
So that means that somewhere in their mind, they're like, now he might be our guy. Because if you want the no trade clause, Dak Prescott is not going to begrudgingly stay somewhere where ownership has told him, we do not want you no more.
Yeah,
he would waive it.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
That hasn't happened, and that's what that epiphany came to me a couple weeks ago. If they really wanted him gone, that's all it takes. You just go tell him, hey man, it's over. And I think the Raiders might genuinely want you, so go on and waive it. Let's go ahead and start your new life. They'll repay you, and we can start over, get our picks. We could have did that before the draft.
Exactly.
But see, they don't want to get rid of Dak Prescott. They want him to play on the money they want to pay him. That's a whole nother discussion. They don't want to pay him the top, and I get it. I mean, it's their business. Yeah. But that don't mean they don't want him, because if they didn't want him, they would have just told him.
Yep.
Especially Steven. Steven looked like he'll tell somebody anything.
Yeah, you don't care.
And it's just the way the Cowboys negotiate lately, though. I mean, and look at all the guys that they've negotiated with. They wait until the very last minute to sign these guys. What makes anybody think it's going to be any different this year? Dak is in their plans. If he wasn't in their plans, things would have operated very differently.
They like Micah. They love Micah. They love Dak. They love CD. They just don't want to pay them.
They don't want to pay him if they don't have to. They try to cheap out on some shit, but
you can say they don't want to pay Dak, they hate Dak and all that stuff. Then why they ain't paying CD? Because I don't understand where the gripe is with him. What did he do wrong?
Yeah,
no, nothing.
And it's gonna keep going high. You know, the interesting thing with the Cowboys franchise, they're what you would call franchise quarterback, right? Has never played for another team but the Cowboys. You can go back to the beginning. All the franchise quarterbacks, what you would think are franchise quarterbacks, never played for another team. So, for what it's worth, I don't think Dak's going anywhere. They
just want to drag this out. I really don't understand it. You would think they would want to kumbaya this moment and everything like that. But I will say this, though. I don't think CeeDee Lamb, as much as people like, his mom don't like him or whatever that situation is, CeeDee Lamb has become an all-pro twice with Dak Prescott.
Right.
No disrespect to Trey. Hey, man, you going to mess up my whole flow. We might not win no championships, but Dak is good for business for me. I don't want to go to catching 3 touchdowns in a year because you can't throw. Like, no,
Well, he may not want to sign until they figure out what they're doing.
Until they
Quarterback,
figure out what they're doing.
I'm not looking to have Ryan Leaf or some of these other scrubs that you guys had before. We ended up with Romo throwing me touchdown passes.
You remember them years? It can get dark.
And for those people, I always have to go back and remind people. For those people that say, all we got to do is, we can get rid of Dak and we can draft a quarterback. We can draft. I always remind people and say, look at how many quarterbacks the Cleveland Browns went through. And I would say, look at the Cowboys when Jerry Jones was thinking about drafting a quarterback. He talked about drafting Johnny Manziel and Paxton Lynch. Thank God we didn't get any one of those guys. We lucked into Romo. We lucked into Dak.
Twice.
This Cowboys franchise, what gives you any notion that this Cowboys franchise would be good at drafting a starting quarterback with Jerry Jones? And look at some of the guys he brought in, whether it's Drew Henson, Chad Hutchinson. I mean, this guy, he's got
hold on. Quincy Carter. It was some rough years.
I mean, they brought in some terrible quarterbacks. Yeah, I mean they brought in
can I kill something too?
Nah.
Any Cowboys fan out there that hate Dak Prescott and think that you're ready for Shedeur Sanders to walk through that door, this is not what you want. You do not want none of the. Hey, look, Dion, appreciate the years when you was a Cowboy, but y'all are not built for the type of heartburn and blood pressure rising that the Sanders family would bring. You think you don't like Dak Prescott, and he's a company man.
Yeah.
After this week, I hope they paid attention this week very closely, because I seen a lot of Cowboys fans. We're tanking for Shedeur. That's not what you want. Let that dream go. Please let that dream go, because I don't want to touch that with a 10. You know what? I'll get used to some Trey Lance. Don't bring Shedeur Sanders anywhere near my franchise.
No. Yeah. No, I'm out on that. I am out on that.
I'm out on, but not even close.
No,
not even close. I had to put that out there since we was talking about crazy quarterback ideas. We can leave that one right where it's at.
Yep, get that one out.
Yeah. I don't know if this is and I usually don't like responding to stupid shit, but I can't help it. But Dak Delusional's got to either be an Eagles fan, it's got to be ultra. He's got to be someone, because anyone with a half a brain that says Quincy Carter was a better player than Dak Prescott.
Listen, you should not read anything more. That right there.
I go down, but it's too good to not read.
That right there disqualifies that man from talking football. Don't read anything more that comes across here. Just ignore that shit. That lets him know can't talk football with dumb people.
But that's my point. Like Dak Prescott. I understand the disdain that people have. Like, well, let me say this. I don't understand it. I'm saying I understand it as like, I understand that there are fans that have complete disdain for him, and logic has gone out the window. To make a statement like that is illogical.
Yes.
Like to say, you know what? I don't care that he's all pro. I don't care that he's top 10 low interception percentage all time. I don't care that his stats versus Drew Brees stats in the first 8-9 years of his career are comparable. I don't care that he led the league in touchdowns. He is not good. He's the 32nd worst quarterback in the league. It's just like, I just wish they would admit, this ain't got nothing to do with football. If you could just say it ain't got nothing to do with football, I just don't like him for whatever reason. I'm tired of his playoff losses. It could be a petty reason, but just say that I'm ignoring basic football logic when it comes to disliking him. And I'll be like, all right, cool. I understand where you're coming from. Because you can't say, come on, Quincy Carter. Like, no disrespect to Quincy Carter, because he catches strays and Quincy Carter trying to live his life.
I watched Quincy Carter against Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I had this feeling that we would win a game. And we had a good defense then, and we lost 12-0. We had Joey Galloway, Antonio Bryant. We had 3 receivers. We were 5. I mean, we were rolling a little bit, thought we were going to be good. We went against Tampa, and we couldn't even get past the 50. It was embarrassing.
They don't remember Brandon Whedon. Like, it got dark for a while. It got real dark.
Matt Castle.
We had Testaverde. And we had
Bledsoe at the end of his career.
It got dark to where, because you know how bad people don't realize. You know how bad it has to be for an undrafted free agent to have a chance to play.
Yeah,
Tony gets a chance because we were that bad at quarterback.
Hey, he gets a chance because Quincy Carter. Thank you, Quincy Carter, for failing your drug test.
Drug test, yeah.
Had he not, Tony Romo was fourth on the list. He might not have. He might not have made the team.
Just like Dak, if it wasn't a random rash of injuries, because they was going to play Jamil Showers,
and Kellen Moore.
So Cowboys need to realize, we didn't got lucky a lot.
Yeah,
you're not gonna keep getting lucky.
Oh man. So anyway, hey, we've been going for a couple hours. We have a great time, man. Roman, it's good to have you on the show.
I appreciate y'all, man.
And I love talking Cowboys.
We gotta do this in person. We gotta definitely catch up in person.
Yeah.
So when that schedule release comes out, we'll circle a game. We'll make sure we can link up. I'm definitely gonna come back to Dallas because I got family in Dallas. So when I came down there, I didn't even have to pay for hotel and stuff.
Damn, you're lucky.
Yeah, no. But this is the crazy thing. I had no idea how crazy it got after the game. So when I came down, I was like, man, I wonder how much one of these, and I know they're crazily priced. I would love to just get a hotel over there. And
I could tell you, I stay there when my wife goes. That's the only time I'll stay there.
At Texas Live, like that.
Yeah, it's $600 a night. And then you have taxes and you have everything. But hey, this is what I'm going to say. I'm not, hey, I've been very blessed and I work hard for any money I have. Of course. But I only go with my wife. And I go with my wife because my wife also lets me go to about 4 other games. When I go to the other games, it's La Quinta, it's Hampton.
Yeah, when you by yourself, hey, trust me, my wife, I'll stay wherever. Like But I get it. When you with the wife, you got to make sure it's good. When I walked over there, I was like, man, it'd be perfect to just be able to walk back to my hotel room.
Yeah. Texas Live is lit after the games.
If you could justify it, I can justify it by parking savings because I just Uber. I don't have to rent a car. I stay there the whole time. You don't have to deal with all the bullshit and everything else.
It took me 3 hours to get home.
Yeah.
Or well, not home, but back to and I'm talking about I had to walk blocks just to get back to an Uber because there was no, now we had just beat Philly, so no one was getting close to the stadium. And it was a good time. I was having a good time. But when I was ready to go, it was like, oh, I ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
So
the shitty part is even with Texas Live after the game, you can't get food. You can't get drink. I mean, it is a madhouse.
No, it was crazy. After the Philly game, it was.
And here's what I'll say too. I went with my wife. And I'm not going to be uppity, so no one yell at me and say, "No, here we go." But you pay that money that I just said for the hotel, right? When you go into the hotel, it's littered with all the fans, so I can't even get dinner. I'm like, well, I'll just go in the hotel and go to the bar there. It's packed with everyone. They should have a section for the people staying in the hotel. At least, hey man, I'm trying to stay there. Is that being? Am I?
No, not if you paid that much money. You got to get food in advance and leave it there. It might be. You got to get something that you don't need to reheat.
Yeah,
but
they built that other one is done. So I don't know if the prices will go down. You remember?
I'm going to check. Look, anything that's in walking distance, I'm considering because the day was great. I'm talking about I got out there early. We tailgating, we drinking, we eating. I had a great day. It was just the very end. I wasn't mad. It was just like, it's so many people. And the people was hanging out the windows of the cars. Like, it was a good time because we had just stomped Philly. So it was a good time. But it was like, hey, this is draining. It's like 2:30. I can't go nowhere. So all I want is as soon as them tickets drop, I might try to see if I can, because sometimes you can get a hotel so early it's fair price.
You know what you do? Try and get what you do. Just
I might get the hotel before the damn game.
Book a hotel every Sunday and then just cancel it. Book a hotel every Sunday wherever you want to get that's close and see if you could. Sometimes they're smart and they'll block them off the dates because they don't know. But sometimes you could beat them to the punch and just book them and then you just cancel them. As soon as the schedule.
Look, I was like, man, it would be perfect. I just walk over here and I can be as drunk as I want. I ain't got to drive, but that's the dream. So, so I'm gonna try my best this year to see if it's possible. We'll just see where the prices go because ain't nothing going back down. Everything's going up.
No,
so we'll see where it's
I'm sure it has to do with traffic, traffic regulations and stuff, man. But an ideal scenario for AT&T Stadium would be for one of those streets somewhere close by AT&T for about 15-20 food trucks to just line up and make big time bank.
Oh God.
I'm telling you, if you had a line of food trucks, man, each one would have a line a mile long outside because everybody's trying to get food, don't want to drive.
Man, I had such a good time though. But you was right. When we got back over to Texas Live, you couldn't. It was just people. You couldn't get anything because it was too many people. Now I was already buzzed up because of all day drinking. But you're right. The one thing I did want, I couldn't get. You couldn't get food nowhere.
No food. Forget food after the game. You better get something, in the stadium. But yeah, it's gonna be fun. So we'll let you know. We're doing our tailgate party. So hopefully, maybe it's around the time that we're scheduled. So we'll let you know. But it was so awesome to have you. Let everyone know again. They all know. They know Rome and Cowboys fan talk. And like I said, it's you're one of my favorites, and it's awesome.
I appreciate you, man. And I definitely want to come back on. Maybe we bring Tuck on here and we all can have y'all battle.
There you go.
Back and forth. No, but it's Cowboys Fan Talk on YouTube, Cowboys_Fan Talk on Twitter or X or whatever you prefer to call it. And look, man, I love to always tell people this, man. I'm just a fan with a ring camera, man. I'm not with a ring light. I'm not special. I'm just one of y'all with an amplified voice. I get angry like y'all. I bleed this team like y'all. You know what I'm saying? And don't never take my over emotion or passion as a know-it-all type situation. I just want whatever's best for the team, And if that meant that if Trey Lance could lead us to that chip, I would be supporting Trey Lance. Don't never forget that. I'm a fan of the team first, and all my opinions are just wanting prosperity for the team. It's never wanting prosperity for myself, or I would have did something else on YouTube. It's all about the Cowboys,
and that's what I love about and it's really a lot of the content guys that were just fans. And I got into this because I was a big fan, and it's like, man, I needed something to do. I say I love doing this, and I get an opportunity to talk to Cowboy fans. So I feel the same way. I don't know no more than anybody else, man. I speak my opinion, and my mind.
That's why I call my Cowboys Fan Talk. It's not really that deep, and that's why the channel's name is it. That's what it is. It's Cowboys Fan Talk. It's nothing more, nothing less. It's not, if I was going to do something else, I would have called myself Cowboys Analyst Talk. I'm not an analyst. I'm a fan.
It's perfect, man. We appreciate it. And Kelly, I'll give you the final words, man, before we head out of here.
All right. Yeah, no, I just want to say it was a great time having you on. I appreciate you coming and dropping some knowledge on the show and giving your opinion, some hot takes. I see 378 here in the chat right now, 378 people watching here. So just want to let every one of those people know, run over to, if you're not already subscribed to Cowboys Fan Talk, go and do that. And then also while you're at it, give us a like and subscribe. I know we have a lot of people that are on the X channel that are watching. Mike, I think you're still streaming on Instagram as well too. Yeah. So anybody that's streaming on a non-YouTube platform app, just come over. Make sure
subscribe everywhere. Like, subscribe, share everywhere.
Because that's what you guys. I saw one of your videos, Rome, the other day, said you can't do what you do without the fans.
I'm nothing without the fans.
Yeah, it's the same for us. You guys are what makes this possible, to bring this content, this forum, to bring the guests in here. I mean, it's not the same if we're doing this with zero people watching. You guys come in, you stay. It's been 2 hours. It's almost 400 people strong in here. So we appreciate y'all coming in, talking football, letting us have our little therapy session here. And
that's all we're doing. We on the couch. We on the couch is therapy.
It's a fan therapy session, and like Rome said, we're just fans. We're not claiming to know any more than one. It's all objective. They're all opinions, and I'll be the first to admit when I'm wrong. And when it comes to the Cowboys team and the outlook on 2024 season, me.
If it means us winning, I'll be wrong all year. I don't even tell me I'm wrong.
I've tweeted out several times. I said, look, I don't think we did enough to win in the playoffs. I said, but God, every day that I hope I'm wrong, because I promise you, September comes around, that first game, I'm going to be in front of the TV with optimism, hoping we win every game, all 17 of them. So,
yeah. Y'all know I'm a fan. I was already contemplating buying Sunday ticket already, and I'm like, why am I like this? I'm that fan. It's May, and I'm like, I'll buy Sunday ticket now just in case.
Buy Sunday ticket. Message me if you.
Yeah, we got the hookup on that. So
we'll talk off cam. We'll talk off cam.
Absolutely. But I just want to thank everybody for joining in the chat again. We'll be live again next Thursday, man, to talk some more Cowboys football. So again, thank you all for joining in, and we'll see y'all next week. How about them Cowboys?
That's right, man. Appreciate it. Take care. See you.
Give me somebody that's hungry. Give me somebody that's hungry. I need somebody.